So, I am back. I actually looked this up. So, Jara is actually a half human, half Kobliad, which apparently was in Deep Space Nine. Like there was a Kobliad characters in Deep Space Nine at some point, and I don't. It's been so long since I don't remember it. And the funny thing is those who don't know. I'll get back to the game really in a minute. Just give me 1 minute. So, for those who don't know, there was a guy who went to Star Trek and wanted to do a story about a space station, and that there would be different weird things that happened at the space station and all that, and they laughed it off. And then they turned around and created Deep Space Nine, which at the same time, JMS, I forget what the initials stand for, which is as big of a fan of Babylon 5 as I am. It is a shame I can't remember, but I always hear JMS all the time. And almost at the same time, that's when now, for those who don't know,
Everyone, if I could have your attention for a moment. I'd like to introduce Commander Jara Rydek, our new first officer. Some quick introductions. This is Lieutenant Handar, our helmsman, one of the best in the business.
One of?
Well, what he lacks in humility, he more than makes up for in ability.
A pleasure to meet you, Commander.
Likewise.
Next, we have Commander Westbrook, our Chief Science Officer.
science is always blue.
Come to rely on his expert counsel on a regular basis.
Pleasure.
Commander Rydek, it is such an honor to meet you.
Lieutenant.
This is our tactical officer, Lieutenant Bedrosian. We've been looking forward to meeting you for about as long as I can remember.
I've been following your career for quite some time, and I look forward to learning as much as I can from you. You've heard of me? Well, I have to admit, one of the reasons I've followed your career is because you're part Kobliad, because of what you've overcome. Starfleet stands up for people who can't defend themselves, and you are one of those people. But since then, you've done so much to protect others who need it. I really admire that. So, you've been something of an inspiration to me. Not that I've done anything close to what you've done. I really do know a thing or two about you. I'm glad I could inspire you, but it's important to take your own path. Thanks. You can count on it.
Never meet your heroes.
And then, of course, you've already met Commander Irma. Please, do everything you can to make Commander Rydek feel at home here. I'll be on the starbase. I have an urgent meeting with the starbase commander to get our authorization to get underway. If they drag their feet any longer, we won't make our rendezvous. The bridge is yours.
Okay, so the colors of the uniforms are sort of like are a bit like they changed it a little bit though. Like in the original Star Trek, those who had the orange, or the yellow orange, or whatever you want to call it, I'd say it's orange, was the command group. Now that's red. I think each color means different separate things. The blue has always been science, and that's one thing that didn't change. I mean, if you remember Spock always had blue. And then there's the orange, which that's what most of the engineers have, but it also seems to be other things. Like I said, it's been really a long time since I've sat down and watched Star Trek, but I used to love it.
tactical hollow dais. Just like they've got on the Excelsior.
This doesn't seem like too much into the future. This probably, I mean, maybe this is. Oh, they said that the start date at the beginning, and there is an actual conversion of start date to actual.
Chief Engineer Chovak needs to lower the structural integrity field. He's sent a crew out to recalibrate the emitters in response to the danger posed by the storm.
Are the
We
characters?
just need your go-ahead.
Mission granted.
Lowering structural integrity field now.
Entering maintenance mode. Condition blue.
The storm is getting worse.
Looks like they turned off the SIF.
Great. Let's get to that emitter.
What I find funny is I think that field that we turned off.
Every time we're out here, I half expect to see her in pieces again.
She's still got some scars on her. It adds character.
When I joined Starfleet, all I wanted was a ride out of town. But this isn't exactly how I pictured it.
On the outside of the ship?
No. Sometimes it feels like we're just part of the machinery. Don't you want more than that? I mean, Starfleet is noble and all, but it's still a machine.
Yeah, of course I do. Starfleet's an open door. We just have to walk through it. You wanted to get away. I enlisted because I didn't want to wait years just to get out and see the galaxy. I wanted to go somewhere, see new worlds, look up at a sky no one's ever seen before. Just because I'm cranking a hyperspanner up in a Jeffries tube today doesn't mean that's all I'll ever be. Diaz to Commander Chovak. We are at the SIF emitter.
Acknowledged. You may proceed with the recalibration.
Beginning recalibration.
That's not the right tool, you idiot. Tune nodes to center the circular indicators.
Looks good. That wasn't so hard.
I see red, damn it.
Commander Westbrook, right? Chief Science Officer.
You remembered my name and my rank. Impressive.
You seem kind of sarcastic.
Yes, I'm the Chief Science Officer, and I have the dubious honor of being the most senior officer on this bridge. I know this ship inside and out.
Well, aren't you
Better
special?
than just about anyone.
What a very impressive list of credentials.
This is a research and discovery ship, first and foremost. Now with a former tactical officer as its new first officer. I'm curious, though. A Kobliad, or half in your case, is an odd choice for first officer, given your vulnerable condition and all. But if, as an example, we found ourselves in a hostile situation, and you were suddenly incapacitated because you needed an infusion, what would happen then? You'd leave Captain Solano without an XO. Granted, that would be a worst-case scenario.
In my entire career, it's never been an issue, or caused the slightest problem. And I don't expect this to be any different.
I was
Yes.
just curious.
Yes, smartass.
Listen, can I be blunt, Commander?
I see no reason
think-
to stop now.
Yeah.
Commander Sutherland, your predecessor, was one of the best first officers in all of Starfleet. His record was impeccable and his reputation was without equal. I mean no disrespect, but the shoes you're stepping into are almost impossible to fill. He was loved by the crew. And he was one of my closest friends.
I don't think I could ever replace Commander Sutherland. And it would be a mistake to even try.
Seeing as Captain Solano is on the starbase, let me give you an update on this ion storm we're flying into.
I think I changed his
Unusual.
demeanor a
Unlike
little bit.
anything I've ever seen. At the moment, I can't tell you if the Resolute will shrug it off or if we're putting ourselves at risk. However, if we learn more about its patterns, its nature, we can come up with a scientific countermeasure. Just a moment.
We've got
I
a
think-
massive energy wave inbound. On screen.
Tracing its trajectory.
I'm guessing that they're gonna have to put
The storm's emissions are fluctuating, coming in waves. And if my projections are right, we're about to get hit by a wideband burst of ionic energy. Like a tsunami.
I'm reading power abnormalities all over.
Red alert.
Aye.
I'm thinking that the petty officers are gonna have to run their ass back into the.
Evacuating main gangway and retracting.
Putting sensor visualization on screen.
With the structural integrity field shut down, we can't take a direct hit.
Time to impact. 1 minute.
Shield systems are severely impacted. We have limited protection.
I need every available solution. What are our options?
We can weaken the impact of the storm with a deflector pulse.
There's a better way.
I'm sending all auxiliary power to the deflector dish.
Send the aux power to the shields. We can't reactivate the entire shield bubble, but it's a directional threat. So we can orient all we have towards the wave. You have to believe me.
We only get one shot at this. We can't afford to get it wrong.
Bedrosian, get those shields up.
Rerouting power to shields. Stand by. I need a heading. We've only got one shot.
Understood. On my command.
Watch me die.
Heading locked.
Raise shields.
This is it.
All hands, brace for impact.
What happened?
We have experienced a surge of radiation.
Oh, you don't say.
This radiation supercharged the plasma, forcing it to backflush through the system and creating a dangerous imbalance.
It can blow out every primary system on the ship.
Just tell us where you need us.
I need you to traverse the hull to the access port to recalibrate the port nacelle plasma regulator.
Now the reason why there was only the two options is if they had put up full shields or they put up that structural
the first
field,
access point.
it would have obviously killed
Understood.
these two.
Do you see the override for the level 1 failsafe circuits?
And clearly they don't want to kill.
Affirmative.
Engage the override. It should allow us to stop the EPS flow to the warp engine without triggering an automatic core shutdown.
Failsafe override engaged.
Are you sure? I am registering some crosstalk in the bypass circuit.
We need to route the signals so they don't interfere with each other.
No crosstalk.
Diaz to Resolute. The failsafes are temporarily disabled. Moving on to the EPS regulator.
Heads up, Carter.
What is that?
One of the discharges coalesced.
It's coming right toward us. I'm gonna try to disrupt it with my phaser.
It's coming right for us! Oh, and we just killed an energy alien.
So we gotta climb up the pylon. Not that there's really an up, but, you know.
Yeah, it's true. You evil energy aliens, die.
We're almost to the regulator.
I mean, these...
Are you alright?
Yeah. Just close to it. Just snuck up on me.
That damaged your suit. Energy damping is down to 60%.
See, these things are attacking, like...
We're at the regulator. Opening the access panel.
And now halting the EPS flow to the port nacelle, we have little time before it causes an overload in the engine. You must work efficiently.
EPS manifold adjusters reset to neutral. The EPS lines to the port warp engine are back in balance. Almost done. Once I cycle the manifold nozzles, Chobot can...
Now, like I said, I don't know anything about the game, so my energy alien line is no... Holy crap! It's not some sort of prediction or anything. I was too busy dicking around to, like, respond to the keyboard.
Get down! DS to bridge. We just lost the docking clamp. We've got a lot of debris coming down. Hull vibrations, too. We can't finish the EPS regulation in these conditions. Please advise.
We have to release the ship from that other docking clamp or the hull will be ripped apart.
There's a problem. The clamps are supposed to disengage automatically in an emergency, but it's not working.
Not working.
What are our options?
The docking clamps are fitted with exploding bolts for an emergency release.
We've got crew out there. That'd be like setting off a bomb next to them.
Maybe there's another way.
Starbase is hailing us. Put him through.
Resolute, the remaining mooring arm is failing. You need to disengage from the starbase now. The damage to the station will be catastrophic.
The docking clamp isn't functioning. We're exploring our options.
Option is to detonate the emergency release.
Commander, hear me out. Reverse the polarity of the hull, which theoretically will repel the docking clamps.
And repel the engineering crew right off the hull into the storm.
This is Captain Solano. Put me on screen.
Go ahead. Captain, we have a situation.
Commander, what are you doing? Blow the bolts on the docking clamp.
The captain doesn't know the whole story.
I'm giving you an order.
Jara?
Captain, you brought me here because you trusted me. Can you trust me now?
You better be sure you make the right decision.
The captain made himself quite clear.
They're gonna get hammered with debris out there. Reverse the polarity.
There is protocol.
And there are lives.
Starbase, stand by. We're gonna flip hull polarity to disengage the clamps.
Yes, Commander.
Repair crew, this is Acting Captain Jara Rydek. Be advised, we are going to reverse hull polarity to free us from the remaining docking clamp. Tether yourself and deactivate your boots on my mark.
Understood.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark!
Grab my hand! I got you.
Thank you.
Plasma imbalance is reaching critical condition. We are moments from primary system failure.
I got it.
Wow, this is kind of tough to keep it in there.
Look out!
I got you. Petty Officer Etzelar's hurt and unconscious. I'm gonna have to tow her back to the airlock.
Mr. Diaz, the situation has changed. You are at risk of triggering a substantial electromagnetic arc if you approach the main hull the way you came.
But Commander, the way we came is the nearest airlock.
There is an auxiliary hatch near you on the far end of the pylon. You must bring Miss Etzelar there to access the interior.
Roger that. We're going there.
As I was saying before, I don't think I'm like predicting any. Well, I'm kind of predicting something, but I don't know if it's true. I'm saying
auxiliary hatch.
energy aliens.
You go first.
What?
Let me save your neck this time. No time to fight me on this. Get in there!
You better be right behind me.
Duck! I don't think there's any ducking for her.
We're in.
They're safe, bringing the SIF fully online.
Do it.
Now that field is what normally protects the ship from debris. Apparently would kill anybody aboard or outside the ship.
Carter!
I'm okay. I'm okay. But that's a lot.
Here, let me help you.
Get the helmet off.
Medical. We've got one wounded at my location. Millie.
Oh, man.
The funny thing is
We'll see you at sickbay.
that probably kills the body, but not the Trill.
Status report.
The repair crew made it inside. EPS flow is back to nominal levels. The SIF is back up.
How does this affect mission readiness, Mr. Ermot?
Releasing the docking clamps using hull polarity minimized damage to the Resolute. We'll have some last-minute repairs to make, but if we reapportion some of the staff, we can make our departure on time. As of now, however, we are successfully moored to the station.
Good to hear. Send updates to my ready room. Commander Rydek, with me.
Now, is he gonna yell at her?
You disobeyed my orders. Well?
Respectfully, Captain, I made the right choice given the information
You
I had at...
disobeyed my orders! And not just in front of the bridge crew, but the Starbase staff as well. That's going to get around. My name's already tarnished around the fleet. But what is it going to do to my credibility on this ship? From the top to the bottom. Bridge to lower decks.
I told you I'd be honest. But I also owe you more respect as captain of this ship. And I'll do better, living up to that.
I expect as much from you. You might have won some fans on the bridge with that stunt, but not everyone. Lieutenant Commander Chovak has already bent my ear.
I'm sure he doesn't take it personally. He'll get over it in time.
Mr. Chovak is more complicated than he would want to admit. I guess we all are. And, if I'm being honest, I'm not sure what I would have done in the moment either. You never really know if you weren't in those shoes. So, let's just boil it down to you did what you had to.
Thank you for understanding, sir. I'm sure no one knows the burden of command as well as you do.
I'm sure you will, someday. Despite it all, we got our final Starfleet clearance to depart. So if you'll fetch Mr. Ermot, we'll knock out the final details of any outstanding repairs, and we'll set out for Hotari.
Yes, sir.
You see that she did the right thing, because if she did what he told her, both Diaz and what Erdez, they would have both been dead.
All departments reporting full mission readiness.
And fortunately, what they did actually helped
This is my favorite moment. Right now.
the crew like
The start of a new mission
like
is
her more.
always full of possibility.
The Orion Syndicate could sell it as a drug.
Don't let the Admiralty hear you say that.
Captain on the bridge.
Sit, everyone. You all know, I'm not big on speeches. We're embarking on the first mission since our refit. Let's make it a good one. Disengage docking clamps.
wonder how long this story will be. I mean, a lot of the Telltale games were about 6 to 8 hours, I
Docking
think.
clamps released.
So I'm
Thrusters
guessing
ahead,
that might
Commander.
be this one. So we're 1 hour in right now. This shit reminds me of the Reliant. Well, the science vessels usually have that same configuration, like the Reliant did. And those that don't know, the Reliant was the ship that was in Star Trek II. That Khan took over. Khan! Yeah, I'm crazy. Whatever.
That should do it. Set a course for the Hotari system. Prepare to go to Warp 8.
Hi, Captain.
Warp 8.
You know what? You take this one.
Me? Engage.
Simple, but effective.
Easy. Thank you. I'm fine. Really, You don't look so good.
I'm guessing it means that she's
I
low.
have to get to sickbay.
Go.
She went from green to red very quickly.
Help me get her inside.
Is it maybe the storm that sucked the duridium or whatever out of her or something? I guess we'll find out.
Well, that was quite a scare. A few minutes more and it would have been one of the shortest tenures on record for a first officer.
Is that the engineer that was out on the hull?
That storm did a real number on her, but she'll live. Just needs rest. You should worry about yourself. Your duridium levels got dangerously low and destabilized your cell structure.
This is definitely one of the more memorable first days I can think of.
My name is Dr. Aram Duval, Chief Medical Officer.
Lieutenant Commander.
To be honest, I've never met a Kobliad before. You're...
Rare. I know.
I was going to say special. Your people's numbers have dwindled, despite the Federation's efforts to find a more readily available alternative to the duridium you need to survive. Yet you joined Starfleet and managed to thrive. I imagine the responsibility must be overwhelming. Maybe even a burden at times.
It does make me unique, but it's not a burden at all. I'm honored to be Kobliad, to represent my people.
As you should be. And don't worry, I won't treat you like a science experiment. I just do the science and leave the experiments to Solano.
You don't agree with his methods?
I don't agree with his definition of acceptable risks. Not when the lives of your crew are at stake. My professional opinion is that the accident took a toll. More than he's willing to admit. He's overstressed, operating in the pressure cooker of his own mind. Which is never a good headspace when the lives of your crew are at stake.
She's very
What concerns me is that now he's even further away from the thing he's been chasing his entire career. Breakthrough discovery. The major innovation. Something he can put his name on. The more the time passes and the further out of reach it gets, the more risk he'll be willing to take.
We all have to chase our dreams, don't we? We need to take some risks. Isn't that why we joined Starfleet?
But not at the expense of other people's lives. It's too high a price to pay. And I have to give you credit for what happened on the bridge. It took guts to defy a direct order.
Huh. I guess word travels fast around here.
It's It's a small ship, and everyone's curious about the new XO. Fortunately, your cell structure's almost completely stabilized. And I'll spare us both the lecture, but I do feel it's my responsibility to remind you, without regular infusions of Duridium, you will not live. It's as simple as that.
Understood.
And my work here is done.
Again, I find it really strange, though, that she moved quickly from green.
Lieutenant Bedrosian, I came to see if you were okay. We were all pretty worried on the bridge. No one knew what was happening.
I don't want anyone to worry. This is just part of who I am. It doesn't define me.
Of course. I completely understand. And I would probably feel the same way if I were you. You trusted me earlier with the shields, and I appreciated that. I want you to know that I have your back.
Thank you.
Now, I think the science officer kind of was half and half, since I ignored his choice the first time but went with it the second time.
Complete the diagnostic sequence and the shuttle will be cleared for service.
Yes, sir.
But it did seem like the
Storm
smartest
in the Watari
option to
region
me.
will interfere with our transporters, so we need all available shuttlecraft in working order.
Excuse me, Commander Sherlock.
Petty Officer Maris, I will leave you to your work.
I stopped by sickbay and saw Millie. I figured you'd want to know.
It's my fault she's in there. I should have made her go first.
Maybe, but I wouldn't want to see you hurt like that any more than her. Dr. Duval said she'll be back on duty soon, though.
Come on. I have to run the final diagnostic.
You know, she's really tall for, I mean, like...
I can't stay long. I've got a long to-do list before we get to Hotari, and things are piling on faster than I can check them off. We're making all our last-minute checks in security, too. Tactical and security are short-staffed.
Well, nothing's ever 100%. But we'll be good to go.
And if you wait until you are ready, it's probably too late. Which is why I didn't want to wait for just the right time. I had a chance to think about this while I was away. Then you and Millie almost got killed out on the hall.
And I tell you,
And
I
I
love
thought
you.
It was important that I just come out and tell you.
I love you.
Instead of tiptoeing around it. Or worse.
Miranda, is everything all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. Maybe even better than fine. What I'm trying to say is, we've been really good friends for a long time. But I got back here and I couldn't ignore it anymore. I want to see if there's more between us than just being friends.
She's into him.
You don't have to explain it. I feel the same way. There is something between us.
So, do you want to find out what that something is? If it's there for you, and it's there for me,
We don't have to put too much pressure on. Let's just see where this goes.
I like that. Definitely felt some pressure coming down to see you.
These are uncharted territories.
I'd call it a chemistry experiment. You know, with us.
I'm just really glad that you said something.
I've seen how you operate. I couldn't wait for you to make the first move. I'm glad too.
So whatever happens next is great with me.
Level 1 diagnostic complete.
I have to get back to that to-do list. They're probably looking for me.
Can't blame them.
I'll be seeing you.
So I I've always kind of wondered. I mean, I've been in the Navy, so I'm saying I know that it's very similar to how the Navy works.
Approaching the rendezvous point outside Atari space.
Helm, bring us out of warp.
Dropping to impulse.
Oh, now he's definitely a Bajoran.
Ionic interference surging, Captain.
I remember.
Shield integrity holding.
We can take it.
We are at the correct coordinates to meet the shuttle.
Commander Rydek.
Two hilarious
find us our
things.
diplomat, if you will.
Aye, Captain. Let's reduce the noise. Filter out environmental signals. I can manually tune what's left for Federation signal types. I've located the shuttle.
Opening comms.
On screen.
Shuttle to Resolute. Shuttle to Resolute. Debris field. Lost maneuvering.
Because Bajorans have that little thing on their ear. That.
Losing.
I can't get it any clearer.
I'm guessing it's like an earring.
It won't get a transporter lock. It's just not happening.
Power up the tractor beam. We'll pull them directly into the docking bay.
Diaz, you good to run the tractor emitter?
Yes, sir.
USS Excelsior.
Come on, Diaz.
So I don't think this is too far in the future. The Excelsior's still around.
First thing, lock onto the shuttle and stabilize the rotation.
Of course, it may be like the Enterprise.
We're pulling in debris.
I'm on it.
Come on. But so late, I'm gonna fuck up. What's weird is I wanted to get that one first, but it was only letting me do it in an order.
That's gonna take out the shuttle. Here's the bridge. There's a large piece of debris headed for the shuttle. The tractor beam can't handle it.
Can our shields take it?
I believe so.
Commander Rydek, plot an intercept course.
On it. Here we go. Maneuvering thrusters bearing 53 Mark 17. 200 meters on an intercept course.
Maneuvering.
Got it.
Whoa! Someone's working hard on the bridge.
The funny part is, those of you that don't really know, I mean, like you know, there is a asteroid field with quotes. Let me put the air quotes up around between Mars and Jupiter. Now the thing is that space is so vast that there's never going to be an asteroid field like we see in Star Trek or most other, Star Wars and stuff like that. We're never going to see that because space is so vast that objects aren't going to be that close together.
Terra firma, so to speak.
That's Spock?
Ambassador Spock?
Holy cow. So this is not that far in the future.
The captain will be right down to meet you, sir.
In that case, I will wait for him here.
Apologies for the landing, Ambassador. I was operating the tractor beam, sir. I take responsibility.
It was not the smoothest transit, but you got us here safely. That is what matters. We thought we were prepared for our arrival in Hotari space, but it is evident my craft was not sufficiently robust for such intense ionic activity.
The storm has been pretty intense.
There was an element that was most unusual. Before you came to our aid, our maneuvering thrusters and impulse engines were rendered inoperable. So we attempted a short traversal at warp speed, only to find that we could not achieve warp at all. Even
Energy
though
aliens.
our diagnostics computer showed no faults or anomalies. What do you make of that? When all indications say that warp speed is possible, but in practice, we find it is not.
Well, onboard diagnostics can be wrong. I can take a closer look at your shuttle systems to get to the bottom of it.
I would appreciate that.
Take readings, run some additional diagnostic checks, and we'll get to the bottom of this.
Quite logical, Petty Officer...
Carter Diaz. Sir.
Thank you.
Ambassador Spock,
Excuse me.
I'm honored to have you aboard. I'd like to get right to it. We're already behind.
I don't think Solano is that great of a captain, I'm gathering. I hope they don't make him be like totally terrible. I think flawed is fine, but terrible is bad.
Ambassador
You don't get
Spock,
as far as you can
my
by
senior
being
staff.
inept.
It's not every day that a captain gets to welcome a Starfleet legend aboard.
You flatter me, Captain Solano. But legend implies the past tense, whereas I am very much focused on our present circumstances.
I didn't mean to suggest you were stuck in the past. You're right, Ambassador. Not the most diplomatic choice of words.
Your experience comes from the past. But our present situation calls for it.
True enough.
We were hoping you could fill us in on the details. We got the basics from Starfleet. Two formerly peaceful neighbors are now on the brink of war.
Indeed, and the tension between them grows fiercer by the hour. Lydia and Hotari. The Lydians are the more advanced species. They made first contact with the Hotari over a century ago. This is Tau, the Hotari moon. It is rich in dilithium, and for decades, the Hotari and the Illydians have shared a mining operation there.
Tau.
The Illydians provide the technological resources,
We come in peace.
while the Hotari have served as the labor force. The stability of that arrangement was the source of their peace, until recently. The Hotari have suddenly and forcefully seized control of the mining operations and expelled the Illydians from their system. That is the official story, as told by the Hotari when they requested Federation mediation. But the details remain scant. Communications between all parties have been limited by the ionic interference.
How is it the Hotari were able to turn the tables and take the mines against superior forces, especially after decades in this arrangement?
Unclear. The answer to that question may be the key to a new, lasting peace, and one that I hope we can uncover during these negotiations. But it is unlikely the relatively primitive Hotari forces would stand a chance against the Illydian fleet if this escalates to open war. Left unchecked, this conflict will result in more bloodshed, which is what we are here to prevent.
And the dilithium trade hangs in the balance.
Clearly, the Hotari have been exploited in this relationship.
Maybe we can persuade them peace is the more profitable alternative for everyone. They both profited from the mines. And for the Hotari, something is better than nothing. Peace is our objective, after all.
That is correct.
If we could convince them, it would restore the peace. But we would need the Hotari to accept a difficult compromise.
Made all the more difficult by the emotions flaring on both sides, no doubt.
Neither the Illidians or the Hotari are members of the Federation, so we can't make them do anything.
There is an additional complicating factor I should mention. In the past, the Federation has relied on the Illidians as a source of dilithium.
That certainly changes things.
Federation sources its dilithium from a lot of places.
Yeah, and this is one of them.
We could use that as leverage with the Illidians. They'll want the Federation to continue buying from them.
There might be something to that, Commander.
Putting that on the table could make the Hotari more hostile.
Given the Federation's involvement in the Illidium dilithium trade,
I don't know.
Captain Solano and I must make every effort to appear neutral in these negotiations.
What worries me is if this whole thing unravels, and we're at the mercy of the storm at less than full strength.
We can't let it come to that.
Considering what the Ion Storm has done to our ship, and the Ambassador's shuttle, we have to assume the Illidian fleet has had problems with it as well. This recent surge in the energy disturbance temporarily levels the playing field.
Commander Westbrook is correct. The energy anomalies around the Hotari systems have been noted in the past. But they have never been observed on the orders of magnitude we have seen in recent weeks.
If it's keeping the two sides talking instead of shooting at each other, that actually helps us negotiate a peace.
And we'll take advantage of that as long as it works in our favor.
And when it doesn't?
All the more reason to learn as much about it as we can while we are here. We do not want to be caught unprepared, should the energy anomaly continue to fluctuate. So I trust we understand our circumstances.
We're operating on a strict timetable here, and we're going to be leaving for the negotiations shortly. Commander Westbrook, I want you to leverage our systems to investigate the anomaly from here while we're gone.
Aye, Captain.
Thank you all.
Dismissed.
I want to speak to both of you privately.
Uh-oh.
Ambassador Spock, I'd like to make a formal introduction. My first officer, Commander Jara Rydek.
Commander, as you are aware, there are limits to what Captain Solano and I can do in our official capacity as representatives of the Federation. But someone in an unofficial capacity, your first officer, for example, would not be bound by those restrictions. Commander Rydek could ingratiate herself to certain parties behind the scenes, where they may be more candid in revealing information that could lead to a resolution.
She certainly knows how to say the right things. At least when she wants to.
I'm perfectly happy to work outside the lines.
And by extension, you will be doing your duty, Commander.
Just not too far outside the lines. Well, I hope Commander Rydek will have more luck finding out what really happened than we will through official diplomatic channels.
The fate of the negotiations, the interests of the Federation, and the prospect for peace will very well depend on it.
Let's see what we got so far. Still has misgivings about his orders being defied, but remain willing to place his trust in his new first officer. Orange sort of kind of tells me that, I don't know about this. Or maybe I'm not wrong. Appreciate when ordered her to disengage docking. She thought highly of Jara's effort to explain the complexity of the situation to Captain Solano. She's also relieved when Jara defied Captain Solano's orders and made her own command decision in the moment. So I guess this color doesn't really mean how much they loathe you or not. Because I was seeing whenever there was a good response, she saw a little green thing that popped over. Spock, for example. Ambassador Spock noticed Jara's support of the Captain Solano and her distinct perspective on the dynamics of the Hotari-Illidian conflict during the mission briefing. Ambassador Spock also noted Jara's positive attitude when presented her back-channel mission. Actually, the funny thing is, you'd think that maybe the first officer wouldn't be like, I don't know. You'd think that the first officer would be a little bit high up the chain to be like an ear to talk to. But anyway, let's go to this. Commander Westbrook was impressed by Jara's leadership skills when Starbase ordered her to disengage docking clamps, and he applauded Jara's efforts to explain the conflict. That's the same thing he said for Lieutenant. Ultimately, he was thankful that when Jara defied Solano's orders and made her own command's decision. I kind of thought he might be a little upset because she didn't go with his option the first time, but there's no mention of it here. That's kind of interesting. But let's get to Amanda Irma was impressed by Jara's leadership skills when the Starbase ordered her to disengage docking clamps. He appreciated Jara's efforts to explain the complexity. Wow, that's everybody. Commander Irma respected Jara's rational approach when she defied Captain Solano's orders and refused to put the crew in risk. Dr. Duval was surprised and somewhat concerned by Jara's cavalier approach to risk, but was encouraged to see her thinking independently when she defied Captain Solano's orders. I thought she was very candid for some. I'm guessing they're trying to make her kind of like Dr. McCoy, who just says what he feels, and he's always said what he feels. But I would think that in Starfleet, unless they have a lack of doctors, that it'd be kind of career smashing to diss on. She is full commander. I could have sworn she was lieutenant commander, but I don't. She is a full commander actually, because there's lieutenant commander. Lieutenant Commander did not approve of Jara's unwillingness to follow protocol when she defied Captain Lana's orders to blow the bolts from the docking clamps. A Vulcan who didn't like the fact that she just didn't nimly-pimly kill both of those people. Now Carter. Despite words to the contrary, Isler was somewhat surprised after Carter put his own safety ahead of her own out on the hole. What was he going to do? Fight her? I mean, like in similar games where I've had that sort of thing happen, it ends up kind of ruining things, which is why I just decided to jump. But whatever. Miranda was thrilled to learn that Carter's feelings for her tend to be more towards romantic, and she looks forward to seeing where the relationship might go. Lieutenant Commander Chovak found Carter to be cheeky and cavalier, so there isn't a new thing. You would have thought there might be some new update considering what they did out there. I don't know. Let's go back. I'm almost to the hour point, so maybe I'll call it quits here. I do need to do a couple things, and I guess since we're into the new spot, it's probably appropriate time, in fact, to call it. It's probably saved already at that point, so that's good.